Pop quiz. What is the most embarrassing military defeat in human history? You might say the Battle of Karansebes, where an Austrian army got so drunk they started shooting each other and retreated from an enemy that wasn't even there. But at least the Austrians were fighting humans. You might say the Italian invasion of Ethiopia in 1895, where one of Europe's great colonial powers got absolutely dismantled by a nation they assumed would just surrender. But at least Ethiopia had soldiers. Or maybe you'd say the Bay of Pigs, a CIA-backed invasion so catastrophically planned it made the United States look like it had never heard of maps. But at least America was fighting people. No. The most embarrassing military defeat in history belongs to Australia, a country that mobilized its army, deployed heavy artillery, sent in the press for the victory photos, and got annihilated by emus. Historically facts. The Great Emu War.
The year is 1932. Australia is still licking its wounds from the Great Depression. Wheat farmers in Western Australia, specifically the Campion district, are barely surviving. They're growing wheat. They need to sell wheat. Wheat is the only thing standing between them and total ruin. And then, 6 months after planting season, 20,000 emus show up. 20,000 emus. Now, if you've never seen an emu up close, let me paint the picture. They're roughly 6 feet tall. They weigh up to 130 pounds. They can run at 30 miles per hour. They have claws that can disembowel a grown man. And they have the dead-eyed stare of something that has never, not once, experienced doubt. They descended on the wheat fields like a feathered apocalypse, eating crops, trampling fences, letting rabbits in through the gaps to finish the job. The farmers were desperate. So they did what any rational group of people would do. They called the military.
Enter Major G.P.W. Meredith of the Royal Australian Artillery, a decorated soldier, a serious man, a man who had probably never imagined that his legacy would involve losing to birds. The government signed off. The army was deployed. 2 Lewis guns, heavy machine guns capable of firing 500 rounds per minute, were loaded onto trucks and sent into the Australian outback. The press came too, because obviously watching soldiers mow down emus with military-grade weapons was going to be the easiest, most satisfying story of 1932. Spoiler, it was not. November 2nd, 1932. Operation Emu begins. The soldiers find a group of about 50 emus gathered near a dam. Perfect. Clustered together. Sitting ducks. Well, sitting emus. Major Meredith gives the order. The guns open fire. And then something extraordinary happens. The emus scatter. Not in panic, not in confusion. They scatter tactically, splitting into dozens of small groups and sprinting in different directions at 30 miles per hour. The machine guns, designed to cut down charging infantry, couldn't track fast-moving individual targets darting across open terrain. By the time the dust settled, a grand total of 12 emus were dead. 12 out of 50. The soldiers looked at each other. The press looked at their notebooks. The emus looked back. Eerie silence.
The army tried again the next day. The guns jammed, it had rained, the terrain was too rough for the trucks. The emus, seemingly aware that something was up, started posting sentries. 1 or 2 birds on the edge of a group that would sound the alarm and lead the others away the moment soldiers appeared. Major Meredith, to his credit, said this out loud. He told journalists, and I am not making this up, that the emus appeared to be operating with a military structure, that each group seemed to have a leader, that they were adapting. An ornithologist watching from the sidelines noted that emus could absorb bullets, keep running, and still take up to 5 shots to go down. If we had a military division with the bullet-carrying capacity of these birds, Meredith reportedly said, it would face any army in the world. Australia had invented the ultimate soldier. It just wasn't human. The military campaign lasted less than a week before it was called off in humiliation, having used thousands of rounds of ammunition to kill somewhere between 50 and 250 birds. Out of 20,000. The math is not good.
Parliament was furious. Not at the emus, at the military, for wasting money, ammunition, and the nation's dignity. One member of Parliament suggested the whole operation looked like it was designed to give the birds a good laugh. The Army went back in December, then again in 1948, then 1949, then several more times through the 1950s. Every single campaign ended the same way. The emus won. Eventually, Australia gave up on military solutions altogether and just built better fences. Which, to be fair, worked. But let's be honest about what happened here. Australia, a country with a professional military, machine guns, government backing, and a press corps ready to document their victory, declared war on birds, fought that war multiple times, and quietly, bureaucratically, signed a surrender that no one was ever officially allowed to call a surrender.
Here's the part nobody talks about. The emus won, not because they were smarter, not because they were stronger, not because they had better weapons. They won because they were perfectly adapted to the place they were in. The soldiers came with the tools built for European warfare, heavy guns, trucks, military formations, and tried to apply them to the Australian outback against creatures that had evolved specifically for that landscape. The emus didn't fight back. They just existed. And existence, when you're truly built for where you are, is sometimes enough to outlast everything thrown at you. Australia eventually learned to coexist. Bigger fences, crop protection, working with the land instead of against it. But the emus never changed. They didn't adapt to the soldiers. The soldiers had to adapt to them. And maybe there's something in that, about power and about what it means to truly belong somewhere. Or maybe it's just really funny that Australia lost a war to birds. It's probably both. Thanks for watching. Historically Facts. And yes, the emus are still out there, watching.